Om Shanti and Rubai.
Shanti.
Om Shanti. Om Shanti. Last time we had the session on why Raj Yoga meditation, and we left the session at we need to connect with God.
Yes.
We did the meditation on oneself, so we really need to connect with God. And before we connect with God, we would like more information on God. We need to understand God. Although we have so much information about God, but I want to understand God on a personal level. And I think that's the only way I can connect with Him. So would you give us more information about God, and then if we can do the meditation on God so that we can learn the meditation connecting with God. And also one more request, that if you can give us the information more based on the day-to-day activities so that we can connect, or we can bring God in our day-to-day life.
Yes.
So.
Well, you've got in the world outside, we've got personal relationships with different people, and what happens is that those relationships break down for one reason or another, because there's people can't come to an agreement, and we see things in a different way. So I might put something to you, and I think it's a great idea, and I'm very excited about that, and you as my friend might not actually be as excited. You might be excited about something else that I'm not excited about, and you get this kind of breakdown of relationship because we rely on our common bonds, basically. We always, our marriage relies on two people actually having the same connection through different things. So, it's the same in the sense of you're actually taking a support of different relationships with a source that is in fact invisible to our two eyes. This is why it's all a very subtle thing, the Raj Yoga, because it's not visible. I can see it with my perception, but I can't see it with my vision. I can only see you. And in real terms, I can't see you correctly. I can't read you correctly because I've only got your facial expression in front of me. So, you've heard people say to other people, what's the matter with you today? And there's nothing wrong with them, they're just thoughtful. So the actual radar's not really working. The radar isn't picking up correctly between two people in different bodies because of the actual consciousness and concepts that I'm projecting. They're not the same as what you're projecting. So there's a kind of, we're out of sync really in the normal. Someone doesn't always read that another person's had a hard day. They'll only see whether they've had a hard day. So,
exactly.
If I haven't had a hard day and I come back home and meet and greet you and I don't get the same meet and greet and I'm light about the day and you're heavy, and I might say, I had a lovely day till I come home to you.
Yeah, to you.
So you get all these breakdown of communications, whereas what you're actually doing is you're attuning through a more subtle consciousness to a supreme being and relating to that being the way you need to relate to, because we can't actually get it from human beings. We think we do sometimes and then we don't, because it's not reliable, because they're doing the same thing. We're all in the same boat in that sense. I've got a certain need in human relationships to fulfill a certain area that will make me feel more stable, content, and I'm doing it through someone else that's not. It's a bit like the Titanic trying to save the Titanic.
That's not going to work.
So there's variety of relationships involved, and I suppose that people normally take the relationship of a child first. I think that's where we head towards, which is, there's not a greater place to start than a child being the one that's in demand and need, which is a self, and the father of all souls, that is the supply line. But that supply line has a personality, so it's not really like the sun, whereby you've just got this constant power coming towards people, and if they tap into it, then they'll get that. It's not like that. It's a feeling God, a feeling Father, and we're feeling souls.
So you are giving us a different connection we could have with God.
Yes.
And starting with us being the child of
Yes.
God, and then Him being the Father.
Yeah.
So that's the first relationship we can
I
have
think
with God.
so. I think, normally we've got this kind of need for a deeper, more stable peace, a more stable happiness, a more stable love. We've seen that our friends and family break down at times, whereby the situations are too strong for their emotions to handle. And so inside we all say, as a family unit, we say, oh God, oh God, what are we going to do? Oh God, have you got any ideas what to do? Oh God. And it's not till a person's back is against the wall in the family, knowing, I know that all my family have helped me throughout my life, and yet in a given situation, when it's a life-threatening situation, or the family's honour is at stake, or the family business is at stake, or someone's life is in some higher power's hands, as far as we're concerned, no longer in, it's beyond the scope of the help of human beings that we actually call out for that entity, if you like, we invoke that entity.
So being a child, I think I like that relationship as well, because as a child you always depend on your parents, and you have like blind faith that you will be looked after.
Yes.
No matter what situation you're in, but your parents will
your whole
always...
being is secure, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's just, I think that's the greatest security you could have.
Yes.
Being a child, isn't it?
Yeah.
What could be the other relations we can have with God?
Well, I mean, even I was thinking of even 30 years down the line of you will still be coming back to that relationship, because it's a great feeling to actually, become a master of something, and becoming creating a mastery of something, and yet, the ego gets involved, and all of a sudden you want this one that doesn't have any ego, who's the powerhouse, the almighty authority, that is actually going to love you, while other people won't love me so much if I've shown arrogance, self-righteousness, a bit of stubbornness, and I'm right, you're wrong, and done a bit of controlling with the ego, and then when I've made a bit of a mess of it, sometimes it's even 20 years down the line where we actually trip ourselves up, and we can still go back to that one, knowing that you've got a loving Father that will kind of look at you in a certain way, that you've recognised that you've tripped yourself up, or I've tripped myself up, and then I can still go back to that one, and he'll never turn me away. Unlike they create this image of God in some belief systems where they say if you don't do the right thing, he'll put you into hellfire and damnation forevermore. It can't be, because he's an ever forgiving God. There wouldn't be any difference between human beings and the source, the supreme, if he wasn't forgiving as a forgiving God.
But sometimes, out of arrogance, I don't want to be dependent on God all the time if I feel like child.
That's true.
Isn't it? Because then over the time that may fade, that feelings may fade, because I feel like I'm constantly relying on Him. I'm constantly asking for help. So I think maybe after some time I need to create another relationship with God.
You're right.
Isn't
Yeah.
it? Because I can't be child all the time, because maybe my ego, my arrogance won't allow me to continuously be child.
It brings to mind an example whereby a brother had lost his sister, a spiritual brother had lost a physical sister in a car accident, and he'd come out of, I think, a coma himself because he was involved in the accident, and he made the conscious decision that I've been taking so much peace, so much love, so much strength from the source. Now I'm going to give a return of that by showing that I'm the proof of his knowledge.
Wow.
And so,
showing the gratitude.
Yeah, so he was showing that kind of stability and that stillness for the rest of his family to feed off, who were, as far as I understand, in a terribly emotional state by losing their daughter,
I can imagine.
sister or whatever, niece. And he just showed that strength. He said, I'm going to give the return. So you're right, there comes a time when you want to actually show that you are mastering the love that's being given to you and giving that to others. So you're becoming like a mini supply line. Like we used to use the word master almighty authority. The almighty authority is the battery charger, and the master almighty authority is a battery charger of others.
So in this situation, is it right to say that God is my friend now instead of my father?
Yes, yeah. He's like the invisible friend that you can share everything with, take him wherever you go and be with, so that you never feel alone.
Yeah.
Because really, if you look at the word alone, it's also all one.
Exactly.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. So
And how would I take him with me all the time and keep in connection with God? Do I
Yeah.
need to be sitting in meditation, or?
no, it's just a very strong awareness of you having God's light in your eyes, the God's light of peace, God's light of love. And if you really want to go high as a kite with this knowledge, if you just kept attention on God's light being in your eyes, then you will go to the highest possible position that the human soul can attain, perhaps even an equal state to God, because God doesn't want his children to be lower than himself, because he's actually comes for a specific reason, and that's to make his children equal to himself. So it's kind of like you feel you're combined with him, but mostly it's in your eyes. The eyes have it, as we say.
I remember saying, have a godly day,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
So have a godly day means have God throughout your day, isn't it?
Hold God.
Hold God.
Yeah, and it's not a physical hold, is it?
So I think it's just a feeling of who is the source of God, isn't it?
Yeah.
Love, sorry,
Yeah.
source of love is
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah.
I think that's the feeling, and that's how we can carry God with us.
Well, really, the actual heart, the spiritual heart, is not the physical heart that beats, which is just the muscle that pumps blood around, but the actual heart of the soul is in the eyes,
In
isn't
the
it?
eyes.
Is that why when I see some of the Brahma Kumaris doing meditation, they keep their eyes open? What's the reason behind that?
For people, when they close their eyes, it's okay at first when they're desperate for a taste of peace. But once they close their eyes, there's such a habit for the mind to wander and to have no focus and to go into a sleep state, that if you want to start to have alert awareness and awake alert awareness, then you've got to keep your eyes open. As soon as you close your eyes, you'll start to feel that attention become something else, and the attention will become tension. You know, where there's attention, there's no tension, and where there's tension, there's no attention.
Yeah. That means, like going back to what you said before about bringing God into my day-to-day life, and obviously if I can keep my eyes open, then that makes it a lot easier.
Yes.
Because no one needs to know that I'm sitting in meditation, or I've gone away, because I could be continually in meditation while I'm walking and talking and carrying on with my day-to-day work.
Brilliant.
Is that correct?
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that is the meditation itself, isn't it? Because like you said in that Raj Yoga session, that we always meditate on something or on someone.
Yes.
So
yeah. And there's a very strong belief, which I'm completely totally, is that the original relationship between the soul and anything was the relationship between the soul and the Supreme Soul. That actually all relationships that we have with human beings, we search for that when there's a need. When there's not a need, we have a relationship with everyone, a friendship. But when there's a need, although I might take on a friend from when I'm 5 years of age, because I did, my best friend I started to know when I was 5 years old, and I was looking. I didn't know that I was looking, but because of the need in the soul, I was looking for that relationship. I'm actually looking for God, because I'm remembering something that actually made me feel all one again. So I choose someone to make me feel all one. And then I grow up with him, and then for a period of time I think that our relationship, I'm not interested in girls, and that relationship of friendship makes me feel all one. And I don't even think about my mum and dad at times, because my friend is everything. Then all of a sudden something else gets put in front of me, whereby someone tells me that it's about time I had a girlfriend, and you get this variety of relationship, and you recognise another need. And so there's a feeling inside every human soul that they felt all one with God and God alone, and then that's carried forward. As I say, it's fine when we're living our lives without neediness. Hard for people to imagine, because everyone's in need of something. They have a situation like this and they're on the phone, or at least I can phone you because there's a need. But if you can imagine a time when the soul didn't have that need. I listened to someone say this the other day: a mark of a man is if he can sit in the dark for 3 weeks with his own thoughts and remain sane. Yeah. That would be, because they use it as a torture, don't they? And imagine someone comes out happier than they went in. And that's what you and you equals. But we have to take support of God to re-establish that self-sovereignty.
We have one connection as a child. So God can be my father or mother. The second, my God can be my friend.
Yes.
God also known as Satguru as well.
Yes.
So how he plays this role as Satguru?
It's just a question of me having faith that putting my hand in his hand and having the faith so that there's no waste thoughts about a situation, a problem that's come up, because it's been handed over. So I put my hand in his hand. He hasn't got hands, but mind to mind. I've given that over with faith that he's looking after that, and I don't if someone says to me, have you thought more about, no, it's not a decision we make now, it's a decision that will be made.
So as a child, I have blind faith in God. If I'm a child, because I'm completely dependent on my parent.
Mm.
But as a student, I give my mind over to God. So that's the difference, because so this faith is different, and the blind faith as a child is different.
Yeah, but I mean, even with the blind faith, even if you're, blindly putting your faith into God, is in a sense of it's unknown territory, but known because there's a trust in God.
I think because as soon as I see myself as a child, I don't have any doubts, any arguments, anything, because it's just a blind faith that it will be okay.
Yes.
But as a student, I may have doubts that what if this is not right? What if? And so many questions. But I think the situation was because I think as a student I'm grown up now. In spiritual life I'm grown up. So as a grown up I will have my own interpretation of everything, isn't it? So I think I have to have that faith that God is teaching me. So He will be right, or He is right.
Yeah, well, I mean, He's the Father of all souls, and no matter who's in our interpretation of what's mine, whether it be my mother, my grandmother, whether it be my children, my grandchildren, however much I use this word my, they've been His longer than they've been mine. So He's responsible for their outcome. It's more of a story between them, and I'm just the intermediary, really. I mean, I'm not taking on any burdens of the I and my bring, but I'm there because He wants me to be. I mean, it's me that's here, it's you that's there, it's you that's wherever you are. So wherever you are, you're the ones that God needs in that situation, and you're the one that God needs in your situation. I'm the one. No one can do that, play that role, because otherwise they would be in that. It was meant to be because it's meant to be, and that's all you need to know. That that karma had it, drama had it. That it was meant to be like this. So if it wasn't meant to be like this, it would be like that. But it's not. It's like this. And however it is, you've got to kind of have the faith that you're the only one that can do it, and you're the only one that can be the intermediary, the messenger, if you like. And it makes you realise that there weren't just a few messengers on the earth, that we're all messengers, all of us. But, if I believe that they're the messenger, then all I do is worship them. But what am I worshipping it with?
Of course.
My own feelings of being a messenger.
I mean, the moment that you remember God and you bring Him into your day-to-day life, then the moment you question your faith, you're actually questioning God.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
You wouldn't question God when you're already connected to Him.
And if there's something I don't like about the drama,
I'm
actually saying I don't like something about God.
Yeah.
It's that subtle how
it's
it works.
That subtle, isn't it? That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah, that's where acceptance is needed from all four sides. Really, I have to accept you, I have to accept the drama that I'm in, I have to accept my role, and then I'm accepting God through my role. So if I don't accept one thing of my role, then that help will be not accepted, even though it's being offered. Yeah.
Whenever we are in trouble or in crisis, we always look up in the sky. No matter whether I'm God believer or not, every single person on this earth will look up, because we have this faith, deep down, subtle faith that He will save us. He's the Saviour.
Yeah.
Can you give us any example? Because I remember one example of that boy hanging on the hill, whether he should give up the branch or have faith in God. Would you explain on that?
Well, that's the story of the boy that's hanging, and he's crying out for help, hanging from this cliff or this branch. And he said, "Can someone help me?" And then he hears a voice, and God says, "Yes, I'll help you." And he said, "Oh, thank God! I've been calling out for you, and you finally answered me. Can you help me, God?" And he said, "Yes, let go of the branch, and I'll catch you." So he says, "Is there anyone else up there?"
I think jokes apart, how, if we are in this situation, how exactly, because I'm sure once, at least, so many times, but at least once in someone's life, they are in this situation where do or die. And they can't do anything. So it's not do or die situation, it's just a die situation,
Right,
isn't it?
Right, yeah.
But you still have hope that you still can be saved, but it's not in one's hand. So how can you still have faith? It's not, I'm not talking about faith on a physical level that his body will be saved, but how can we, what kind of thoughts we should have in this kind of situation?
Well, the problem comes from if the soul's not understood, because a person will say that I've got total faith in God, and then when all the bullets are flying over their heads during wartime, they'll start to cry out with no stability, no stillness, no strength, in a very emotionally disturbed way, and that's because the concept is not known. It's not known that concept is much deeper seated than that, and is an eternal thing that is coming from the soul being carried forward. Every single soul has a memory logged inside them of a meeting point that took place with God that saved their soul. But because they don't know it's the soul that's remembering, they say, I remember this and I remember that. But when they know it's the soul that's remembering that and become more aware of that memory, there's more faith in it.
Okay.
You know, if that makes sense, because it has to be understood that it's the soul that tastes the food. It's the soul that smells the lavender. It's either soul, it's not the body that's smelling it, it's the soul that's tasting through the body. Because many people have gone through the belief system that the soul remains perfect, calmity, unaffected, and you can do what you want.
Okay.
Basically, they don't realise it's the soul that is evolving through the sense organs, and it's the soul that has the memory of being saved at this point in time of the need to be saved. And it's about to happen again. It's happened before, and it's about to happen again. So,
Okay.
we won't do the traffic control. It can be heard on here
It's
because
fine.
otherwise they wonder what we're doing.
So going on the same example again, boy hanging on the hill and whether to let go of the branch or not. So like you said, if the soul has the firm faith
It's
within,
more a realisation that
so
God
it doesn't
is
matter whether
looking after me.
whether he keep hanging on the
Yes.
branch or whether he let go. In both situations, he will be at peace.
Yes. It reflects in so many things, really, doesn't it, as well, whereby you're running out of food, you're running out of money, you're running out of all the energies that we normally take for granted, where we can just go and get something, and there might be a water shortage, and the water might even get contaminated as time goes on. We don't know what's going to happen in this drama, but we do know that it seems to be getting darker, doesn't it? It seems to be getting gloomier in the world outside. So if all these things fall apart at the seams, the soul has already had on board the realisation that that one has looked after me. I came through it all before, and I'm going to come through it all again. Everything's just come to pass by. And there's a lot of strength in not trying to change anything through worry, because it doesn't change it anyway.
Yeah.
We come through it anyway, but why come through it in a state of perplexity and misery? Why not come through it in an honourable way, whereby I'm not crying out because I've taken a lot from the Supreme and I'm also showing it now. That was always the big issue. It was okay the father shows son, but it was always the tricky one, son shows father.
Mm-hmm.
Because it means that we've got to show that he has made us peaceful, loveful, powerful and still. And that where the proof of the pudding is in the reflection, what I'm expressing.
So it's no point having just a subtle faith. We have to have the firm faith shown in our eyes that no matter how hard the situation would be,
not bothered.
I will be okay.
I've got to practice being carefree to become carefree. You can put it that way. You're not uncaring, but you're free from the care of worry. Because there's care of care, isn't there? Care, the love is, you'll never stop loving, you'll never stop caring, you'll never stop having empathy, ever. It's not possible. But to be carefree means you're not having waste thought about the situation.
You have to be carefree, not careless.
Yeah. So the only need is that you're there. Because he's going to do what needs to be done, he's going to say what needs to be said, he's going to even think what I need to think. So what am I doing but just sitting, enjoying?
I remember my mother, when I was growing up, my mother always used to tell me that whenever we sit in front of God and do our prayers, she said, ask for wisdom.
Okay.
She never taught us asking for any physical stuff. She always taught us, he said, pray to God that he gives us wisdom. And I think that's all he gives us, isn't it? Through the wisdom, he saves us.
Yes. Yeah. But the wisdom was never of the nature of, I know this and you don't know so much, was it? That was always the cleverness, wasn't it?
Yes.
The wisdom was kind of like, I put you first before me, because it's important that you go ahead. Whereas cleverness would always try to be...
Yeah, so that's debatable, what kind of wisdom.
Yes. Yeah, because I remember Socrates saying, I realise why I'm the wisest man in Athens, because I know nothing, and I know nothing, whereas you know nothing and you think you know something.
You know something.
Yeah, so it was the greatest form of wisdom. Cleverness is just a kind of a pathway to nowhere, really, isn't it? No respect once they get there. No respect from the heart, but respect out of fear, because the person's just clever and have proved their cleverness and have to keep on sitting on that throne of thorns.
And there'll always
Try
be
saying
someone
that when you've lost a tooth.
And there'll always be someone more clever than you.
Yes, absolutely. Waiting to sit on the throne of thorns.
So the faith is in God, but who is God? So can we just repeat God's qualities? He is the benefactor. He is the Savior.
Yes.
He doesn't punish us. He never judge us.
Ocean of love.
Ocean of love.
Ocean of peace. Ocean of happiness. So you go into the ocean has depth, breadth, width. It's got everything. It's got height. It's got everything. So you'll never get to the end of it. So in other words, the treasure store of the ocean of love is open. Enjoy.
I think we've been taught as well that you have to have fear of God as well, but I think that fear is only installed because so that we don't do any bad actions, not because God punishes for our bad actions. Is that right?
Well, it was more to do with the fact that it's quite a subtle thing, really, but it's if I'm not cautious, then I'll lose my friend. when I should never lose my friend. And that is like, no, the result is too terrible to think of, because even a second without my friend, a second is worth years. So that's too terrible to think of, but in a way that actually brings attention rather than tension. Whereas the way of selling it in a frightening way, I mean, what does God care really? If we lose him for a second or two, we can always take it up.
Back, yeah.
But the actual thought is a good thought to have, that I mustn't lose my friend for a second, because that love is worth years in births, in the form of births, because it's so powerful and it's so potent. But the actual way it was taken was man's way of controlling.
Yeah. Because I've seen some people, they have so much fear of God, and in that fear they don't appreciate God.
No.
They can't connect with God because they're so scared of God. And I think they haven't been given the correct description of God, who is God. They've been only taught that God is just...
It's
just
called
that.
God-fearing people.
Exactly.
They are a God-fearing
They don't know anything
person.
but fear about God.
No. And there's
So I
nothing to
think
fear.
Nothing to fear.
At
I
all.
think that's the most important thing we need to learn, that God, we shouldn't have fear of God.
Well, even the judgment takes place because I know what I needed to know, and when I'm not doing what I need to do with what I now know, it's kind of like a self-punishment that for a time I will feel that he's not pleased with me. But he won't be displeased with me if I go in the wrong direction. He'll just observe me, and he'll leave them alone, and they'll come home.
Because
maybe
he knows
they'll
they'll come back
He
on
knows.
track again.
He knows I've got to come back to that source point.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah.
so he'll let me wander.
So this is we need to
my
know.
mother will go, "Oh my God, where's my child? Is he in the road, or has he been kidnapped? Oh, he's there." But God doesn't get caught up in the drama, and he doesn't think too much about what we're doing, because it's just the playground. He doesn't care if we're on the swings or the roundabout. He knows we're safe, and we're safe in this drama. Nothing bad can happen. I mean, the worst that can happen is that you leave the body and have to take another one and learn it all again. But so what?
So what?
So what? I mean, we shouldn't have. I don't mean to have that attitude.
Can't be
but that's
too
the
careless
worst
about that.
can
yeah.
happen. Yeah.
I think this topic is never ending. We have to have
Yeah,
another
we should.
session on. So
Yeah, it'd be
before we stop, could we have some meditation
We can.
thoughts
Yes.
on God so we can connect with Him?
All thoughts turn within, and I shift away from the consciousness of the body, and I see very clearly in my mind's eye myself as the shining star of light, and I feel like a child in front of the Supreme Being, also a shining star. And I get caught and taken away by the radiance of love that is radiating towards me, and the light of that love is invoking me like a parent to a child. My security, my heart is full as I immerse my mind to mind, in this everlasting, oceanic oasis of tranquil, serene and powerful, beautiful light. And I feel my eyes holding the light of love, of the source of love. And I feel like a master ocean of love. I hold that light, that love, deep within the heart of my eyes. I will carry this light in my eyes. I will see others through the light of God's light that is in my eyes. I will not let it go. Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you, Andrew Bhai.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will continue
Yes, we will.
on God
We will.
for our next session.
Is that a day or is that on God? Is that a day? Like you say on Thursday, but on God Day.
On a God day, yeah.
Yes,
Om Shanti.